All right. Hello, everybody. This is Martha Alter Hines, and today I am going to be interviewing Jennifer Gehl, who I'm so happy to be in a conversation with. So I found Jennifer because she had done an interview with Pam Gregory about her Sedna book. And I am personally quite fascinated by and drawn to Sedna. And some of you in my community know that I just did a Sedna workshop, 2 weeks ago or so. And so as part of that, I read Jennifer's book on Sedna, which was so helpful and so beautiful. And I felt a lot of resonance, Jennifer, with your approach to Sedna on a spiritual, it felt like you were really connecting in your own authentic way on a very deep level with her and with the energetic of life in general.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, I could feel it. And actually, what I did is I actually listened to your audible version of your book. So it was your voice because you are the one who recorded it. And so I was able to feel your energy throughout you reading it. And it was just really beautiful, a really beautiful experience. And
thank you.
What I found was toward the end of the book, there's a part where you start to lead into a conversation about your perspective on Sedna and Sedna's relationship to our energy body. And that was when I really, really extra perked up. and then the book ended. And then I wanted to say, wait a minute, don't stop there. Keep going. So yeah, that's why I reached out to you for a number of reasons.
Perhaps that's my next book.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's so many layers and so many ways that I think this conversation can go. But before we officially start having this conversation, let me read your bio, just so people know a little bit more about you. So Jennifer Gehl is an author, astrologer, musician, and a certified Acutonics sound healer. Her work is dedicated to illuminating the connection between heaven, earth, and humanity, and the healing power of vibration. The science of planetary signatures in medicine, restoring the cosmic foundations of healing. Is that your first book?
Yes.
Was written with Dr. Marc Micozzi, MD, and it outlines the connection between astrology and ancient medicine and reveals how vibration is the root cause for all signatures found in nature, including our own natal astrology chart. Yes, I so agree with this. And then your second book, which is the one I just read, is The Return of the Planet Sedna, Astrology, Healing, and Awakening of Cosmic Kundalini, which provides a comprehensive analysis of Sedna's astrology, mythology, and astronomical influence on our culture, empowering us to co-create our own personal mythos.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that.
Thank you for being here.
My pleasure.
Maybe I can just contextualize a little more of, again, why I felt really called to have this conversation with you. And then we can dive in.
Yeah.
So I was saying to you before we started recording that I, in my own work, have been getting shown this very persistent vision and message when I'm praying that I'm being asked to hold space for, I think, a collective opportunity that a lot of us maybe are also feeling of coming. So I feel like at this moment, we're doing a lot of releasing karmic patternings and karmic structures of things. And then what's being shown is that coming up, especially in 2024, there's a lot of energy supporting us then to come into what the spirit world is saying to me is our divine cosmic blueprint, right? So our divine structure of our energy body. So when I so I believe it because I've now had enough experience with my own relationship with the spirit world. I'm okay, sounds a little bit out there, but yes, I get it because you've shown me enough to trust you over and over and over again. And I look at the astrology and I see, for example, in 2024, the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's happening in Taurus that feels very supportive, huge, gigantic. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then I see Chiron being on the south node, I mean, on the north node in February, and also having just some other massively powerful influence in the astrology in 2024, including being precisely conjunct the new moon in Aries on April 8th on an eclipse, right? Like within a minute, I think, of that new moon. It's massive.
Yeah.
And then later in the year, there's another really prominent Chiron transit. So those two things for sure seem related to this. What the spirit world is showing me is this very strong support for us to be able to vision and come into our divine blueprint energetically.
Yes.
But there's something about Sedna. There's something going on with,
Yes.
Sedna is also going to be in this trine that it's doing with Pluto. And
oh yeah,
something's going on with that too. I feel it, right? So I felt like I wanted to have this conversation. There's something about this conversation that needed to happen. So here
I'm sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm just excited that you're bringing up the dynamic between Pluto and Sedna, and about all the exciting things that are on the horizon for us. And okay, before I get too complicated, let me share with you what has been coming to me in terms of Mars, Pluto, and Sedna. I think I did mention this in my conversation with Pam, but it bears repeating. It's what's up for me. And that's, that's the perspective, obviously, I'm coming from. But so in the Sedna discovery chart, we have the South Node conjunct the Sun in Scorpio. We have Sedna herself conjunct the North Node in Taurus.
Yeah.
So this is in Sedna's signature. And how I can pull that in a simple way for your audience and for this discussion is that obviously we are having to, in evolutionary astrology, we have to look at what the influence of the South Node is. What is it that we are evolving out of, evolving into? So I won't go into details. It's all in the book, and a lot of it, for those who haven't listened to the discussion with Pam, that's another good reference. But what I would like to share, and this I didn't write in the book because it's new to me. It's Scorpio is the only sign in the zodiac in Western astrology that has three symbols: the scorpion, the phoenix, and the eagle. I feel this goes to the heart of what Sedna is revealing to me, what I share with those who work with me. So I associate Mars with the scorpion, the lowest vibration of Scorpio. It's the ego. It is the ego that grasps or needs to maintain control. And when we move, in the hero-heroine's journey of Scorpio, let's look at it that way. There's phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Phase 1 is learning how ego control just keeps us in a loop. And it's all about power and control. Then we move into the phoenix, which I associate with Pluto, and that is the death and rebirth. We are surrendering the ego to allowing it to die, so that a new higher vibration and expression, a more authentic expression of our soul and sacred essence can shine through. That's what Pluto does. Everyone fears it because we've been taught in the old paradigm to fear change, but change is constant. We know this. We are always evolving. Metamorphosis is always going on. So enough said. The third phase is transcending this endless death and rebirth loop, the extreme, experiencing the extremes in our 3D world and reality, the volatility of the grief, the loss, the despair that comes from whatever is removed from your life so that you can get to the heart of who you truly are. That is Pluto, the Phoenix, the alchemist. Sedna has even longer elliptical, a longer elliptical orbit. So yes, it is true that those extremes can be felt, can be experienced. And I mean the deep grief. Yes, that is a possibility with Sedna. But Sedna's message is really about the other side. It's about transcending this, the endless extreme volatility, call it the karmic loop of death and rebirth. We can get out of the karma. Sedna shows us how. And so I do associate Sedna with the eagle, the ability to see the wide story, the big story, the panoramic view, seeing your life and what's going on in the collective from soul's perspective, and really having a cosmic viewpoint, because Sedna is reminding us that we are not just citizens of Earth, we are citizens of the cosmos. Her message is about sacred stewardship and understanding how we've got to learn how to take care of our body, mind, spirit, the entire connection, be better stewards of our body, take our sovereignty back, which is in the Inuit tradition, which is the tradition out of which Sedna is named, or, you know, out of which she, yeah, the astronomers named her for that tradition. So in my book, I do study Inuit culture so I could understand how they view life. And they do not have written laws, number one. Laws for how to interact with the earth and with other beings are written on their hearts. So it is a law that is felt. It's not on paper. It's felt. And because the Inuit understand, and this is Sedna's message, that all life is imbued with sacred essence. It is the divine creator exists in every living thing. Everything is consciousness. So they don't believe in gods and goddesses per se. They believe that all life is sacred. And when transgressions against life occur, that is when, let's say, abundance is withheld. And basically it's Sedna does have a lot to do with abundance in that vein, because she is how do I want to put this? Well, she's the creator and withholder of abundance, but many myths and legends talk about her as a vengeful goddess, and I don't agree with that perspective. I feel that Sedna's message is teaching us how to be stewards, sacred stewards, as I said, of our own being. And in doing that, in practicing that, in understanding the relationship we as individuals have with the divine creator, divine source, when we align with that, we don't need laws to be written down. We are living it. We are experiencing it. And as we heal our heart, ourselves, our own life, we instantly, automatically reverberate that essence of healing to, we rise all the boats. How does that phrase go? You know, as our vibration rises, so too does everything and everyone around us. So it is cosmic and individual simultaneously. It's again changing our perspective, and we're in this square between Saturn and Sedna, which is, you know, Saturn is chronology, linear time. First we do this, then we do that. It's step by step. And that's fine. We don't have to abandon that. But Sedna is also offering that third solution, third perspective, just like Scorpion, Phoenix, now Eagle, a third perspective that allows us to view past, present, and future, and in the here and now, choose differently, choose more wisely, understanding the connection that happens between microcosm and macrocosm. And to dissolve that linear perspective so that we can embrace our multidimensionality, and we are pulling together our ancient future selves, integrating our ancient future selves right here, right now, in every cell of the body. But we as individuals are also cells or mini selves of the divine creator. I mean, I've been talking about this. We're mini me's. We're mini me's of the divine source and divine creator, the intelligence that is within us and mirrored all around us, is always saying, as you wish. So what perspective are you going to have? Are you going to engage in the higher vibration and perspective of the eagle, or are you going to, out of fear, try to keep clinging to the boat, as Sedna attempted and found that didn't work? This is how I see the energies unfolding anyway, and this is how I work with the energies.
Beautiful. Could we actually pause for what I'm realizing that a lot of people listening probably have never heard of Sedna, and
Okay.
Could you give the 2-minute teeny tiny version of just who is Sedna, and you're describing her hanging onto the boat, what the basics of the Sedna story?
Okay. Sedna was born obviously in the Inuit culture. The legends talk about her relationship with her father. We don't know. Her mother is not around. So she refuses. She's very young. And of course, tradition in the Inuit culture is that she must be given in marriage. She refuses suitors until one day a handsome, eligible suitor comes along, promises to take care of her father, her family, her community. So she agrees to marry him. He turns out to be an evil seabird, Fulmar, or in some versions of the myth, it's a raven. But she is living in this bird's nest, away from all of her creature comforts. It's very austere. It's an austere environment. She has no emotional support, no physical comfort. And she is crying out for her father to rescue her. Her father telepathically, however, hears her cry, comes to her rescue, comes to her aid, and finds her. She gets on the boat, but then the Fulmar returns, seeing them attempting to flee, creates a massive storm on the water and in the Arctic Sea. The father becomes fearful and throws her overboard. And she tries to get back in the boat. He cuts off her fingers and hands, and her fingers and hands become the infinite life in the sea. Dolphins, whales, and many legends also say she created life on land as well. Oh. So Sedna really is the immortal sea woman who brings life, who creates infinite life. Now, the other interesting thing is that because she has no hands, part of the story I forgot is that she has always had beautiful, long flowing locks of hair, and she would spend hours grooming herself in front of the mirror. So that's kind of like the ego, the lower vibration, because I do associate Sedna with Scorpio. Anyway, when she succumbs to death and drowning, and she becomes the immortal sea woman. When the people of the Inuit culture, when the people in the community transgress against other life, her creation, in other words, they must offer something. There were shamanic rituals that would take place. And this is true in the Inuit culture. Up until the turn of the century, they were performing shamanic rituals to placate Sedna so that they would then have abundance. Now, I personally believe that because she has no hands, when she is sobbing because of the transgressions committed against her offspring, as the sins and transgressions are committed, she has barnacles that accumulate on her body. She has no way to cleanse herself, to console, So all of the beings come to comfort her, and there is nothing to fish. There is no food for people of the Inuit culture to feed themselves. And they of course rely upon that in such a cold climate and condition. This is longer than your 2-minute version. I apologize.
Oh, it's totally fine.
But I hope it's making sense.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't feel that it is out of a vengeful nature that she withholds the food from the people. She has no hands to free the beings who come to comfort her. They get caught up in her hair. And so a shaman dives down and performs the ritual, but people on land must confess their transgressions. In other words, there has to be a conscious recognition of what they have done to cause the lack in their life. It's very fitting and appropriate for what is happening in our world today. And because Sedna is further away from Earth and from our solar system than Pluto, I feel that that her message is truly monumentally relevant to exactly what is going on in our collective evolution. And it was Sedna's discovery that then spawned all of this life in the cosmos, in terms of the planetoids. She was the first to be named outside Greco-Roman tradition. So breaking tradition is huge in Sedna's message for us. She broke tradition, or tried to break tradition, with her own family. And that's part of the journey, the hero-heroine's journey, breaking tradition with our immediate family, biological family. We're here to transform the unhealthy ancestral patterns that do not serve who we are now and who we are evolving into as cosmic neighbors. But anyway, she was the first to be named outside Greco-Roman tradition, and that, she was discovered in 2003. Eris was discovered in 2005. But Eris is Greco-Roman. Yeah, I believe. But Haumea and Makemake and all of these other indigenous names were discovered after Sedna. So I feel like Sedna really is the mother. She represents symbolically the great mother, divine feminine, who gives birth to all, who gives birth to all, and provides infinite sustenance when we are in right relationship with life. So
yeah, and just for people who aren't aware, also the Sedna was the first discovered object that's thought to be from the Oort cloud. And the Oort cloud is this massive, it's theoretical, but it's a massive sort of spherical shape of huge numbers of objects that's thought to be surrounding our solar system, but it extends so far out. Again, theoretically, but I think it's maybe 4 objects now that have been discovered that are thought to be part of the Oort cloud, something like that. But Sedna was the first, and the Oort cloud is so massive that it comes very close to other solar systems, right? Other star systems. So when we're talking about Sedna being farther away than Pluto is, I mean, Pluto's orbit is what, 246
48
years,
I believe. Yeah.
right? And Sedna's is 11,400.
Yeah.
So it's close. It's almost it's at the part of its orbit that's almost the closest it gets to us. So it's relatively close-ish.
Yes.
But it goes not only farther than Pluto, it goes so much farther away than Pluto does. And goes so much farther away than any of the Kuiper Belt objects, which are now being discovered, like you're mentioning Erisina and Haumea and Makemake, all of those are maximum like 557-year orbit or something.
Yeah.
Compared to Sedna, which is 11,400.
Right.
So,
and that is why I see her message being so important for our collective evolution. And one of the myths also talks about her marrying a dog. And that, for me, I believe that these myths are telling an astronomical story. So I feel like it was the dog star Sirius that was pulling her orbit into such a long ellipse. And I mean, that is one plausible reason, because her orbit is roughly half an age for us.
right.
Or one, well, what am I trying to say? Not half an age, but half of
the precessional cycle.
Precessional, yeah.
Yeah, which Heather Ensworth talks a lot about. Yeah. So then, I mean, if you were to just drop in and really feel, you've already spoken to this a little bit for sure, but what is it that you really feel is the essence of what's going on with the Sedna energy? What is the
Well, what I see in her chart and what I feel in the energy, it's all about balance. It is all, as we talk about the awakening of cosmic Kundalini, we have to, it always comes back to the individual, microcosm to macrocosm. The balance between spirit, heaven, and earth. The balance between divine masculine and feminine in every single one of our beings, no matter what your gender orientation is. We each have the yin yang complementary forces, and we have been indoctrinated in a way of life that has caused strife, division, war between all of the polarities imaginable, all of the complementary forces. Now is the time to integrate, to balance, to heal. This is the way of transcension. It's within. It's not something out there. It's both without and within. So in Sedna's discovery chart, there is a grand sextile. So we have the grand earth trine pointing towards heaven and the grand water trine pointing towards earth. So water represents, of course, our emotions, our intuition. The water element is immediately taking on the energy of its environment. Water needs a container, but if you have water prevalent in your astrology chart, in your natal chart, you feel before you feel the vibe and respond to it, take it in by osmosis before you truly understand what it is you are feeling and picking up on. But water is teaching us, as the immortal sea woman, Sedna is encouraging us to take that deep dive, do our own shamanic work, allow ourselves to feel as human beings, to feel the full range of what it means to be human, but to not get stuck and cling to the suffering, to move past that, to allow what's dead to die. The past is in the past. And also, as part of that healing process, I personally believe that language is so important. And that's another thing that I didn't talk about, but in the Inuit culture, they understand the power of language, the power of words, that words hold vibration. So as we use our words and our thoughts, we can either conjure ill toward ourselves and others, or we can help to heal. So creating that, it's part of creating the new story for ourselves. One way to heal the past and to mitigate the suffering so that we're not continuously reliving it is to use the conscious stream state to rewrite what happened in the past, or to see ourselves righting a wrong, not, a simple example. I mean, there are many examples, and I'm sure you can come up with your own, but let's say in one of my visions, the Arcturians came to me and showed me what I could do in that scene as I was about to be taken away to my death. I saw them in that scene, and they said, oh, what did they tell me? It was like, the essence of it was to grow taller, to stand my ground, and to say no. I mean, basically to take back my power in that scene. I couldn't do it then because it was a different world. It was, and I say was because that's just the language we use. But whether we have previous or parallel lives, I mean, I'm leaning more towards parallel lives. But in that instance, I didn't have access to that. But going back, from having the perspective I now have, I could go back with forces and reinforcement, and I could change that scenario and regain. It's just another way of retrieving, doing soul retrieval for yourself. But there are many other ways that you can do that. I just feel that that is what Sedna is offering: balance, integration, celebrating the infinite possibilities. We do have to understand and accept the infinite array of creation, that there are going to be a lot of different beings, that we have to celebrate our differences. Case in point, we have to learn to accept an infinite variety of life, but to understand that divine essence is imbued in all of them, including the elements. I mean, in one of my favorite stories in my first book had to do with Paracelsus talking to the miners who would mine for gold in one area on one day and not find anything. And then much later, they would come back, and gold will have been growing in that area. So everything is alive. Earth is alive. Earth is consciousness. Everything that is created has consciousness. And everything that is evolving, I feel, is evolving from us becoming more conscious, which means mastering our frequency, mastering our vibration, and becoming the alchemists, and taking what was, just like that lifetime, taking what was a very low vibe and scary outcome, consciously going back in, raising the vibration, and taking our sacred power back. It's not about having power and control over another. That's the ego. It's about aligning with divine source and understanding that we're here to live. We're here to thrive. We're not here to live the calamity again. This is a time of triumph, despite all appearances to the contrary. And so I think I'll leave it there. Please help me out here, Martha.
Yeah, no, great.
Get lost in the weeds again.
I want to jump to a slightly different question, and then I want to come back to something on a technical-ish level. I have a question for you. So,
okay,
when we think about, we're talking about Sedna being in a trine with Pluto and a square with Saturn. And thank you for pointing out the square with Saturn. I hadn't thought about that. That is very important and very definitely related to what I'm feeling with Sedna and the breaking down of, like, letting go of structures, and all of that is clearly related to that square, probably. So at the same time, however, astronomically, Sedna is so far off the plane of the orbit of our solar system, right? Our Earth goes around the sun on a particular plane, and then the planets in general are pretty much on the same plane. Like Melanie Reinhardt talks about that being like a fried egg. So most of these planets are kind of all in the same orbit in the plane of the fried egg. But if we looked at the orbit of Sedna and a lot of the Kuiper Belt objects, and even Pluto to a certain extent, her orbit is not it is not on that fried egg, right? So something I've talked with Heather Ensworth about is when we're looking at Sedna or the Kuiper Belt objects, which are their orbit is so much more tilted compared to our plane of orbit. When I think about her and the zodiac goes with our plane of orbit, right? And she's not really transiting our zodiac. She's really actually off of it. So in terms of our zodiac, she is going between Taurus and Gemini right now. And so I'm just and when we talk about her trining Pluto and squaring Saturn, we are speaking in terms of our zodiac, which she's not really actually in. So I'm just curious your perspective on that. How do you hold that or sit with that or feel about that?
Well, I feel that the trine between Pluto and Sedna is the universal support between those two planets, the two higher octaves of Scorpio, let's say. And I thank you for bringing us back to that original question you had, because I talked about the three, segments of the hero-heroine's journey. So if you consider the Phoenix and the Eagle are now in a trine supporting each other, this is simply universal support, cosmic support for us to evolve. And it's in an effortless way. Whereas the square from Saturn and Sedna is simply tension that motivates us to understand and to make conscious choices toward the new paradigm, which Sedna represents, rather than the old patriarchal, linear, chronological time, the old constructs that keep us limited within the rings of Saturn, keep us going round and around. Now, Saturn, believe me, Saturn in the high vibe has a beautiful lesson. It's about mastery. I mean, the concentration of the rings of Saturn purposely keep us held within, it's like we feel the outer external world bearing down upon us, but its ultimate lesson is to teach us our own mastery. We have to become the authors of our own life. the authority of our own life and destiny. And this is the purpose. And this is what we're being offered, even though it's in a square formality. That's simply waking us up. The trine between Pluto and Sedna is just, I feel like divine cosmos saying, we're supporting you. We are helping you go. If you make it to level 2 of Scorpio, if you've surrendered your ego and you are living in the rebirth process, we're going to give you a boost. Here you have this new level to this portal, which is readily available to you. That's how I see it.
Yeah. And I also see Saturn as, I really love to work with Saturn as yin, and, you know, the sense of Saturn being a wisdom keeper of what structure is in a yin sense, that it's strong and it's present, and yet it's soft and gentle and very, very wise, subtly wise, in the very nuanced way. Yeah.
Yes.
So, but actually, so what I'm also wondering is, when you think about those relationships, the trine to Pluto, the square to Saturn, the idea of Sedna moving into Gemini, do you factor in at all the reality that Sedna is not on our plane of orbit? Like that she's really not in the zodiac, right? She's most of the time in her orbit. I mean,
well, to me, I mean, I simply, I can only share what has come to me, and the way I interpret what you're saying to me and sharing is that Sedna simply breaks through traditional ways of looking at things. Her energy is calling us to look way beyond where we have previously the context that we have previously used. So, I mean, even in my book, I acknowledge that we're going to be unraveling the the mystery of Sedna for a while, to understand how to apply her energies into astrology. But astrology is a language, and just like all languages, it's going to be evolving. So I think but I feel that, well, yeah, I'll just leave it there. I mean, there's something to be said for our subjective perspective, because this is how they taught in the ancient mystery schools, and it goes along with the Gnostic Gospels, that we have access, direct access to divine wisdom.
Yeah.
So we do not have to search outside of ourselves for that wisdom. Sedna is merely showing us that we can access wisdom from way beyond our current perspective, simply by doing the shamanic work within, cultivating the inner path with the sacred, and understanding that just as there is a vast and infinite universe, cosmos out there, it resides within us. The infinite resides within us. So we really don't have to go looking very far at all. I mean, why I'm saying it's about balance and integration, and the as above, so below, as within, so without practice. Yeah. And I feel that, you know, we don't have to have some strategy, structure, or plan, at least not insofar as the way we have known how to make plans to learn something or study something. The wisdom can arise in each moment if we are aligned with infinite possibilities. And that, you know, in terms of Sedna's chart, with Leo rising, Leo is the lens through which we view life and also how we dawn upon other people. But Leo is the sign of playfulness, entertaining, joy. It's all the reasons we celebrate life. It's ruled by the sun. The sun is connected to our heart center. So we, with Leo rising in Sedna's discovery chart and the two planetary rulers of the south node and the north node in her chart, which is Venus and Pluto in the fifth house. This is fifth house energy, healing the inner child. What was the other thing I wanted to say? Oh, the power of love. Venus and Pluto conjunct, past and future together, united, working hand in hand, not separated like East is from the West. And on a sphere, if this is a global Earth, when East and West eventually meet, so we don't have to be divided anymore. That's the simple way to say it. We do not have to be divided anymore in ourselves. And we don't have to be divided culturally through religion or in any other way. We don't have to be divided, Earth in its own little solar system or, point in the cosmos from the rest of the cosmos. All is one. This is water. This is the ocean. And so, this is the connectivity that I see as the main point and lesson in Sedna's energy.
Beautiful. Well, it fits really well with the bigger picture of also what has been coming through in my own praying, which is a couple of different things. One is, for a few years now, I used to be a social worker. I used to be a psychotherapist, and I also was a massage therapist. And 5 years ago, I had an experience where the spirit world came to me and said that I would need to start channeling, and that I would need to leave social work, and I would need to do what I'm doing now, which is, I was a single mom, 2 kids. That's very scary and strange. So, to say the least. So, but part of what they showed me over the next few weeks, once that message started coming through, was that they said, you need to be hands off, meaning like, so my work was very hands-on, literally hands-on as a massage therapist, for my clients who I was doing that with. But in my main job, I was a social worker, and a psychotherapist, and I was working in the child welfare system. So it was highly charged trauma work, and one-on-one with families, and it was very hands-on in a lot of ways, and beautiful work, needed work. We need social workers, we need massage therapy, right? We need all of that. And what they said to me for my role starting in that moment and now, is to be very hands-off. And what they are showing me mainly is they take me through the whole time-space continuum and out into the void. And then they show me the whole time-space continuum like a chrysalis, like a womb. Yeah. And then they show me and many, many of us, I think, as these massive beings who are just holding the space for the whole time-space continuum as one whole being, right? And I feel the Kuiper belt objects, and then especially when we get out to Sedna and the whole Oort cloud, I feel all of it saying, back up.
Yes.
Keep backing, keep getting wider and wider and wider in your view, because you're focused on this teeny tiny thing, which sometimes is great and perfect and exactly what we need to be doing. And I feel them just saying, like, go way back, come back to the totality, the wholeness of everything, all of it.
That's it.
Yeah. And in that, then part 2 of what's resonating really strongly for me is then what I get told is also that in this time, we are really needed to come back into a remembering of our own wisdom of existence, that we are existence itself, that we are we're portals of the remembering of existence and the wisdom of
Yes.
existence, right? So for example, next year I'm going to be holding a year-long astrology course that is called the Infinite Soul Wisdom Astrology 101 course, and it will be teaching astrology, but what the spirit world is saying actually is that it's meant to be a portal of remembering. That's actually the real point. It's like the teaching astrology part is almost like just a key to unlock the door to this bigger point.
Yes.
So that's what I feel also, and when you're talking, is that it's time now, for whatever reason, it's time now, right now, for many, 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 many of us to be coming back and re-embodying the reality that we are literally everything.
Yes.
And we,
Yes.
we, like you said, we are the wisdom of everything. So, but to be doing it also in a very grounded way.
It has to be grounded.
Yeah. Not just to fly off into, not dissociate.
Exactly.
We are Earth. We are
Yes.
cosmos. We are existence. We are the whole time space continuum. We are the void. We are you. We are me. We are everything, right? The feminine, the masculine, the non-binary, all of it as one.
Yeah, beautiful. That has been the practice that I've had, I mean, on a daily basis, consistently for the last few years. That's what spirit has shown me as well, to stay out of my way, to stay, I mean, to stay out of my own way. And to really trust. It's about trusting in the unknown. It used to, we're graduating from a way of living where it didn't feel safe to not know. It didn't feel safe to trust the unknown, because there were, well, I don't have time to go into it, but the world is changing. The world is changing. Our reality is changing. And with it, our perspective has to change. And our bandwidth for trusting divine source creator has to change, because really the availability of what we're being shown, given, the way we're being guided, that has been expanding exponentially. So the alignment of Earth with the galactic center has been that rebirth process on the grand scale. And our vibration has we've had to go through many ascension mini portals, or the ascension symptoms that we all feel as our bodies, as our physical bodies acclimate to the higher frequencies. But now it is safe. It is safe to trust what we cannot see, to trust that void, as you said, to stay out of the way.
And you're talking about the alignment in 2012? Is that what you're?
Yes. And there have been other alignments before that and since, but I feel like that is the major one that really got the crown of Earth as the baby aligned, with in the canal. And
yeah. What's so fascinating to me actually is that 2012 was the first, long story short, essentially my daughter was born in March of 2012, and then in the summer of 2012 was when it was the first time I would say I had the first major opening to all of this now that moves the light, right? So, and what I'm tasked to do is called living the one light. And that's 2012, the summer of 2012 is when it all first really opened. So the timing is just so fascinating to me. Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It is fascinating. And that's why I've always been fascinated by astrology, because it does seem to be that cosmic clock that reveals the climate, the energies that we're experiencing. There was something else I wanted to say when you were talking about getting out of the way, and we are all of these things. We are A musical way to put it that I like to use is that this body, this consciousness we are using as a vehicle to move through this life is like the fundamental tone. It's like pressing down your finger on one of the keys, on a piano, let's say middle C. You can hear middle C, but simultaneously, all of those higher frequencies, those overtones, are also being struck and played. So we hold within this fundamental tone, note, physical body, we hold within it the entire harmonic series. So there is nothing we cannot access with the right alignment, with the right intention, with the right, when I say right, I mean divine, sacred, aligned with life. I mean, divine source creator is about creating life. And the opposite of life is stagnation, not moving, not changing, not co-creating, not being in this dance. And we don't have to get too far ahead of ourselves, because every single moment, one conversation at a time, one thought at a time, one belief at a time, one word, one action reverberates. And then the next moment shows itself. So that's what I mean when I say trusting in the unknown. We don't have to see so far down the road. I think we've been prepared for so long, meaning we've had so many experiences. And now, as you said, we're remembering. I mean, think about it. Remembering is like retrieving those aspects of soul, those memories, the gifts, the ancient gifts. And also, if past, present, future dwells in every moment, then we can also access our future self, whatever the future is. I can't view time anymore as linear. I don't know. Time and space are simply changing. They're far more malleable than we realize and that we've been taught. I feel like that's another message Sedna is helping us remember. And I know I said this in my discussion with Pam, but I want to repeat it here because it is so important. The word mythos originally referred to records of the ancient people, and the Roman Church redefined that word to mean stories veering far from any truthfulness.
Right.
So we've been operating with this idea that anything from the myths and legends can't be true. It's just some fairy tale, some ridiculous story, not true, can't be true. But Sedna is bringing back mythical creatures, mermaids. I mean, I just feel like they've always been there. Even, all marine life has an intelligence beyond what we can know at this point in our collective comprehension. We're still unraveling the mysteries of marine life and what the ocean has to teach us, and it mirrors what the cosmos, the infinite information and wisdom available to us in the cosmos. So being open is the key, not grasping at what has been, has always. We're breaking out, we're busting out of our chrysalis. It's time, and this is a good thing. So I know there's suffering in the world, and I would never diminish the suffering or minimize the suffering that real people all over the globe have and are experiencing. It is real. But I also know that we, just as the law of attraction and Abraham Hicks always said, we cannot make another person well by getting sick ourselves.
Mhm.
We cannot make another person abundant or wealthy by becoming poor ourselves. Doesn't work like that. Abundance is available to all. We have to change our frequency, raise our frequency so that that bandwidth can reach them beyond the static that they are currently experiencing, and they can hear it. Just get a little bit of that frequency, fine tune their radio dial, and begin to listen more and more to that frequency. You know, it's like my favorite story as a child was Horton Hears a Who. And it's still my favorite story. You know, we are here, we are here, we are here. And the Ascension team, our angelic team, our star family, however you define it, they're always available, and we just have to find a way to keep fine tuning our radio dial, our consciousness. And yeah, and as one being put it to me in meditation, I wanted to know the name of the guide who had come to me, and he said, it's not about names, it's about mastering frequency.
Yes.
So
I'm almost never told names of the beings who come to me either, or who channel through me, or any of it. And they don't ever say no. I guess I don't really ask, but that's so interesting that yes, what I'm shown is that the important thing is the vibration, the frequency, not the story, not the word, but
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I have a couple things and then maybe one last question, if that's okay.
Sure.
So just as a little side note, something that's so fascinating and interesting to me actually is that, so this month in October of 2023, I had a workshop on Sedna as part of a monthly goddess series that I hold. So it just happened that we just happened to choose Sedna for October. And then separately, I'm also holding this 4-month series called a Spirit Allies Soul Reunion series. So once a month, for 4 months, I am focusing on a set of beings that I have personal, very strong relationships with. So, you know, in the first month in August, it was light beings and angels and unicorns. And then second month was earth beings like fairies and gnomes and all of that. October, just by coincidence or not by coincidence, was ocean beings. The same month that I chose to do Sedna, and then the same month I happened to be interviewing you. It's really interesting. And in the last 2-3 weeks or 4 weeks or whatever it is, Pam Gregory and Heather Ensworth both have been doing interviews with Veda Austin, and then I think one other person who they've been doing a lot of conversations around water and the consciousness of water. And there's something very alive right now about this whole water theme. And another thing that was so interesting to me was on the morning of the eclipse on Saturday, the eclipse on October 14th. I live right by the ocean. I walk to the ocean almost every day. I live on the coast of California.
Beautiful.
Yeah. And so I walked down there at the moment of the eclipse because it was visible here. And I sat on the beach, very private. It's not a private beach. It's very quiet. It's a very quiet beach. Very beautiful. And I actually recorded a video for my ocean spirits people, like the people who have joined my Spirit Allies, series. So I felt called to create this video for them. And I wasn't planning this at all, but I ended up channeling the ocean beings who came and sat with me and wanted to speak on this video. And what they essentially said was so, not surprising and yet surprising in another way. What they did is they basically took me down into the consciousness of what it is to be under the ocean. And then they showed me, oh, the oceans are a mirror, of course, of the cosmos, right? We think, right? So, and the oceans of, what they said was the oceans of the earth are a conduit for the earth to be in vibrational resonance continuously and constantly with the cosmos, with the all it is, with the stars, right? So like the light and the vibration of all of the cosmic beings, the stars, the planets, the asteroids, the whatever it is, the vibrational frequencies can move through water in a way that is very different. They also can interact with, say, stone and earth, but water has the ability to,
it's the ultimate conductor.
Yes. Wait, say that again.
It's the ultimate conductor.
Exactly. That's exactly what, yes, that's exactly what they were saying. Yes, right. And so I was just sitting there channeling that and I'm going, whoa, of course, it makes so much sense.
You know, it's interesting because as you're saying that, well, I'm getting goosebumps, but our emotions connected to the water, of course, are also a necessary ingredient for creating the new that we want to create. Emotions are, I mean, in astrology, take for example, you know, fire is the spirit that animates life. It's inspiration, in spirit, inspiration. So fire is the spirit. Earth is, of course, the body, the physical senses. Air is the intellect, understanding things through the mind rationally, you know, and gathering data. But water is emotions. It's what we feel and know to be true before we can understand it. But without feeling something, without involving our emotions, very little, well, let's just say emotions help us conduct with greater ease the result we wish to have. Even, you know, Abraham Hicks talked about that too. You can think it, you can say the affirmation, you can intellectualize all you want, but until you get the feeling, you don't have the vibe, you don't have the frequency that you need to give birth to what it is you need to give birth to. So emotions are everything, and this is what makes us human. It is having compassion. Now, unfortunately, our history, you know, we collectively, the story is, as we heal, we've had to face the collective shadow, and that collective shadow is that expression that needed to experience the absence of God, the separation from divine source creator. So we have experienced the extreme of that, which ended in human atrocity, suffering, you know, just suffering beyond what I'll just say that. But now we are experiencing the rebirth. And so what I wanted to say about that is our human emotions were used against us. We were manipulated through our emotions, our compassionate nature to, and given our power, we gave our power away. We've been in that pattern of giving our power away. Now we are taking it back, not to have power over anything or anyone, but to empower our own life, our own creation, and that's really what Scorpio is about. So this is why I do assign Sedna to that third symbol of Scorpio, because it is about empowering, healing, empowering life in others. It's not about power over. And those are the three stages of the Scorpio journey. You know, the scorpion that maintains control no matter what. It'll sting itself before it will allow another creature to kill it. You know, just gotta cling to power. Then the Phoenix stage, we're surrendering to the ego death. That's the shamanic death and rebirth. But now we have the opportunity as beings of this planet, we have the opportunity to rise, to use the trine from Pluto to Sedna, to feel that support, to, as silly as it sounds, to get on that magic carpet and But really it comes down to following the impulses that come from our heart, healing the inner child, and recognizing that whatever we can imagine can be made real. It can manifest. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like we can make life magical again. And, coming back to the Sedna chart with Leo rising, Leo is all about magic.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
so, but
was
not
it yeah. No,
not magic in the negative way, just clarifying, it's about the innocent imagining, the allowing the inner child to truly lead us. And Leo is love too. It's all about heart and love and compassion. So,
Mhm. And then I'm also feeling what I talked about in the beginning of our recording, which is this image and this very clear directive I'm being given, that we have this opportunity now to be doing the clearing and the letting go of the side of the boat and all of that. And
yeah,
then there's something very important about then also allowing that divine blueprint of our energetic bodies to come online, to come back
mm,
into existence, or come into it, whatever it is, come into or back into
yes,
existence in a new way. Yeah, and I'm feeling Sedna there, in that trine with Pluto, but actually in that square with Saturn feels very related to that as well. Like
yeah,
coming back into our whatever this moment of the natural law of our structure is,
yes,
right? Do you have
yes.
yeah.
Creating a new structure. We're simply revising the old infrastructure of reality, and squares are what create events, create the manifestation. So without squares we can't really manifest.
Mhm.
So I do, I feel like it's a revision, it's a grand revision that is taking place.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Do you have any last thoughts about Sedna and the energetic body structure and
Well, yeah, because I know that's what you wanted to talk about and we never really got to it, but I will say, yeah. Um, it's interesting because right before I had this discussion with you, I was talking to a friend, and so 8 is so very powerful. And I've been talking about Scorpio, 8th house, the mystery, what's in, but 8 is so poignant for its illustration of the as above, so below, the symmetry of the spherical or the heavenly world and the earthly world below. It's when you turn it sideways, it's the lemniscate infinity. But what came to me is that in that tiny section where the two spheres meet, it's like spirit was showing me this is the narrow passage. This is the passage of transformation. And if you go through it willingly, you're going to continue on up to that higher sphere. If you are unable for whatever reason to complete that transformation process, you might loop around, to the lower sphere for a while. But to be free, to really feel the infinite expansion of that, and okay, yes, you understand what I'm saying. It's allowing the process, the transformation to take place so that we can continue on that as above, so below journey. And the deeper we go, of course, the higher we go, the deeper our roots need to be so that we are grounded, so that there is the integration of cosmos, earth, spirit, body. But there was something else. In the work that I do, Acutonics, it works with the 8 extraordinary vessels. These are mystical reservoirs of energy that connect us to the Akashic field, that connect us to who we are at in our primordial essence. So using the frequencies to activate, energize, revitalize, and bring back into harmony what is going on. The extraordinary, this is what I feel Sedna is really telling us, revealing to us. We are in extraordinary times, and we are coming back into the balance of the as above, so below, really getting consciously aware of who we are in the inner world, inner space, the infinite realm of possibilities that exists right within us, right within our blood and our DNA, and how working with that immediately impacts, reverberates into the cosmos. So we don't have to become astronauts, we just got to work with the space we're given. And
Beautiful.
yeah, that's.
Do you want to give a 1-2 minute version of what Acutonics is? Because I wasn't aware of it at all until I read your book, and I bet a lot of people have never even heard of it. But it's yeah.
Acu for acupuncture, tonics for the tones. So much information on it. If you go to acutonics.com, just because it tells you about the founders, how it was created, how long it's been around. I'm certified in Acutonics. It's 1C, ACUTONIS, tonics for the tones. So energizing instead of with needle puncture, using tuning forks on the body to use vibration to move energy and harmonize energy. So I call my work astrosonic simply because I use the astrology chart as the point of, rather than applying Acutonics through the textbook way, I use the astrology, the signature, the frequency of the individual, and I look at what's in dissonance that needs help to come to the table and to be harmonized within, so that we're literally creating harmony inside, which then draws in harmony in the outer world.
Beautiful.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And it feels very related to, again, a lot of what comes through in my own channeling, which is, I'm not the only person who says this, but they constantly say we are a song, that everything is all of existence is basically a symphony, and everything is, yeah,
absolutely. And last thing I will say is the meridians are not, they're open-ended. I mean, they're axiotonal lines that connect us to the cosmos.
Yeah.
So maintaining our energy, our vibration and frequency, and it's appropriate to have a healthy container, and that involves the ego. It's not like we're decimating the ego. Each one of us needs to develop healthy boundaries, understand who we are in the whole picture, in the whole cosmic scheme of things. But we can go in and out, back and forth in that infinite dance of these awarenesses as they come to us, but staying grounded by being present in every moment. And the universe is always talking to us. It's a constant conversation, and it's up to us to make it an inspiring, enlightening, illuminating conversation, so that we can tap into possibilities that we could not see before in our previous state just a minute ago.
Absolutely. Yes. Again, very resonant with so many things. Beautiful. Is there anything, how can people get in contact with you? What do you offer? What would you like people to know about you?
Okay, sure. Thanks. Well, my website is Soundworks by Gehl, Soundworks, WORKS, My last name is spelled GEHL, soundworksbygehl.com. You can check out my work. I do natal readings, I do astrosonics, and I also have a YouTube channel I would love to have your audience partake in. I do my own interpretation of the lunar cycles, and then I do my astrosonics frequencies with affirmations to really modulate and take to a higher vibration the energies of, you know, that astrological lens that we're looking at.
Beautiful. Perfect. And of course, I'll put all of your links with this video and
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Martha.
thank you so much. This is beautiful. And I feel like it feels like a song that's just gonna reverberate and keep going and going and going and going and going.
Yes.
So yeah. Wonderful.
And it's the pauses, the stillness, that allows that magical integration, you know, the cadence after this beautiful, massive phrase and big crescendo, you get the goosebumps and enjoy the magic of the integration when you pause. So that's another, you know, just offering that, because that's important too.
No, that's such a good reminder. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.